Be lifted high, be lifted high.
Hey everyone, Midweek Refuel. Tonight we're on Acts chapter 22, and it's gonna kind of be like a story time. I'm gonna take the whole chapter because really it's Paul telling us his history, and maybe we'll just comment as I go along. But let me start by sharing my screen with you, and I can exit out of a couple of these things. Here we go. Verse 1, ladies and gentlemen. Fellow believers and elders, please listen to me as I offer my defense. This is Paul speaking. Now, when everyone realized he was speaking to them in their Judean Aramaic language, the crowd became all the more attentive. Excuse me. Verse 3, then Paul said, I am a Jewish man who was born in Tarsus, a city of Turkey. However, I grew up in the city and was properly trained in the Mosaic law and tutored by Rabbi Gamaliel, according to our ancestral customs. I've been extremely passionate in my desire to please God, just as all of you are today. I've hunted down and killed the followers of this way. So, here again, we're seeing violence being resorted to when, uh, in their opinion, people have strayed from traditional adherence to the law. So that's how intense this was. Just blows me away every time I read about it. But anyway, that's what Paul was. He was one who killed the followers of the way. I have seized them and thrown them into prison, both men and women. All of this can be verified by the high priest and supreme council of the elders. For they even wrote letters to our fellow Jews of Damascus, authorizing me to arrest them and bring them back to Jerusalem as prisoners to be punished. As I was on the road approaching Damascus about noon, a brilliantly heavenly light suddenly appeared, flashing all around me. As I fell to the ground, I heard a voice say, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? I answered, Who are you, my Lord? And he said, I am Jesus the victorious. I'm the one you are persecuting. Those who were with me saw the brilliant light, but they didn't hear the voice of the one who spoke to me. So I asked, Lord, what am I to do? And he said to me, Get up and go into Damascus, and there you'll be told about all that you are destined to do. So isn't that amazing? Just how God had a plan for Paul. He has this supernatural intervention where he goes from being an opposer of the way to actually being taught the way and to be one of the most brilliant followers of Jesus that we've ever encountered. Verse 11, because of the dazzling glory of the light, I couldn't see. I was left blind. So they had to lead me by the hand the rest of the way into Damascus. A Jewish man living there named Ananias came to see me. He was a godly man who lived according to the law of Moses and was highly esteemed by the Jewish community. He stood beside me and said, Saul, my brother, Saul, open your eyes and see again. At that very instant, I opened my eyes and I could see. Then he said to me, The God of our ancestors has destined you to know his plan and for you to see the Holy One and to hear his voice. For you will be his witness to every race of people and will share with them everything that you have seen and heard. So now what are you waiting for? Get up, be baptized, and wash away your sins as you call upon his name. Then I returned to Jerusalem, and while I was praying in the temple, I entered another realm. So he fell into a trance, is what most translations say, and saw him, and he said to me, Hurry and depart from Jerusalem quickly, for the people here will not receive the truths you share about me. But Lord, I argued, they all know that I'm the one who went into our Jewish meetings to find those who believe in you and had them beaten and imprisoned. When the blood of your witness Stephen was shed, I stood by in full approval of what was happening. I even guarded the cloaks of those who stoned him to death. So here Paul is placing himself at the scene of Stephen's stoning and saying, Hey, I freely participated in that. Then he said to me, Go at once, for I am sending you to preach to the non-Jewish nations. So, an incredible moment here where Paul, who has been zealous for preaching the ideologies of Judaism, is now being called to preach the message of the Gospels to the Gentiles. What a crazy turning of events, and certainly something that in Paul's former life would have been not only abhorrent to him, they would have been like the worst thing in the world because Paul didn't even like some of his own people who believed the way, let alone Jewish pagans. Verse 22, the crowd listened attentively to Paul up to this point, but when they heard this, all at once they erupted with loud shouts, saying, "Get rid of this man, kill him. He, does, he doesn't deserve to live." So here it is again. As soon as you come against what they believe, they are wanting to get rid of you. Pretty intense. Verse 23, while the crowd was screaming and yelling, removing their outer garments and throwing handfuls of dust in the air in protest, the commander had Paul brought back into the compound. He ordered that he be whipped with a lash and interrogated to find out what he said that so infuriated the crowd. When the soldier stretched Paul out with ropes, he said to the captain, who was standing nearby, "Is it legal for you to torture a Roman citizen like this without a proper trial?" When the officer heard this, he immediately went to his commander and reported it, saying, "This man is a Roman citizen. What should we do now?" The commander came to Paul and asked him, "Tell me the truth. Are you a Roman citizen?" "Yes, I am," he replied. The commander said, "I had to purchase my citizenship with a great sum of money." Paul replied, "I was born as a citizen." All of the soldiers who were about to whip Paul backed away because they were afraid of the consequences for tying up and holding a Roman citizen against his will. So, as a Roman citizen, Paul had a right to due process, and for them to just treat him as a Jewish believer put them in danger because they weren't following that due process for Paul as a Roman citizen. The next day, the commander ordered that the high priest and the Supreme Jewish Council be convened because he wanted to find out exactly why the Jews were accusing Paul. So he had him untied and brought Paul out to stand trial before them all. So we're going to keep going in 23 on more of this story, but just to kind of wrap this up as I stop my screen share here. Um, Incredible scene. Again, we've been getting set up for this in the previous chapters because Paul knew that going to Jerusalem was going to be trouble, and he was going to experience some things that certainly were not comfortable. And, here he is. What's amazing to me is you would think that as a person who had been a follower of Jewish tradition, as a follower of the law, as one who was a Pharisee who was excelling in his profession, for him to turn around and follow Jesus, you would think would make an impact with people to the point where they would say, "Hey, this guy was a person who followed all of the principles, and now he's turned the other way. I wonder why that's happened." But really, the fear of being challenged on what we believe sometimes causes us to react in fear. And, unfortunately for Paul, uh, I guess more unfortunately for them, they didn't receive the message of Paul. And, even though he went through some horrible things, he had confidence in his relationship with the Lord because he had encountered the Lord and the Lord had called him to do the things that he was called to do. But here he's in Jerusalem being interrogated and raked over the coals for leading people astray according to their tradition. And even the Roman officials don't know exactly what to do with Paul because he is a Roman citizen, but also it's causing a stir among the Jewish community, and they want to keep that down to a minimum. And so, just an interesting story. It tells us a little bit about what Paul went through to spread the gospel. The other question I have, I think that I might have to wait until I'm with the Lord, is why, if Paul was called to the Gentiles, why was he so drawn towards Jerusalem? If his ministry was to lead non-Jewish believers into the kingdom, I wonder why he was going into that environment. And so maybe Acts will tell us more about that. Maybe I'll learn more about that in the weeks to come, and I'll let you know what I know. But that is an interesting question to me as to why Paul chose to pursue this particular voyage. So, all right, there you have it. We've read Acts 22, and next week we'll be on Acts 23. We'll see you then.
Be lifted high, be lifted high.